Okay, so let's pretend for a second that you are a student athlete. We'll say soccer. And you've been on the varsity soccer team for the last 3 years of high school. And you're going into your senior year, and you've worked hard for the team. You've been a great sport. You've been willing to listen to the coach, and you've been willing to help your other players. So all around like a model student athlete, right? So say the day of tryouts you come down with the flu. And rather than skip tryouts, or maybe you don't want to look weak in front of your coach, or maybe you feel you have an obligation, or maybe you genuinely think you can play through it, you go to the tryouts, but you perform poorly and you get cut from the team. So this is a situation where you're going to want to talk to your coach about it, because the coach is the one who cut you and decides who's on the team or not. So first you have to think, well, what is my goal in this situation? Is it to maintain my relationship with the coach? Well, that might be important for working with him in the future, but it might not be the primary goal at this moment. In the same sense as keeping your self-respect is important, but what you really want is the outcome, which is getting what you want, which is going to be a spot back on the varsity team. So let's run through a DEARMAN, and we'll go over, again, what they all stand for. So, describe. First D, first letter in the DEARMAN. So what's really important about the describing skill is that you want to stick to the facts. And again, this is a matter of, remember, getting what you want, not kind of getting to give your diatribe. So by sticking to the facts, you're validating the other person in that you're not judging them, you're not twisting anything, you're not placing blame. You're just describing exactly what's going on. And this is going to give the other person more faith in you, I think, and you're going to come off a lot calmer and that you have thought about this and you're not just reacting on emotion. It also shows that you have more willingness to work with the coach in this situation and work with the person, and you're not going to make them feel attacked. Because when people are on the defense, it's pretty rare that they're going to do what you want them to do. So, in the situation of our soccer player, that would be to talk to the coach and describe the situation. So it could be something like, hi coach, I've been on the team for 3 years. I have a good record, my stats are good. I've been helpful with the younger players, and I've also been respectful to you in the past. And so that's sort of like the facts of the situation leading up to kind of expressing what you want. So in this situation, the conflict was that the player was sick and got cut from the team. So in describe, the way you would phrase that is adding on to what I just said, something like, so coach, with all that, last night I was feeling really sick. I think I have the flu. I decided to come try out today, and I performed poorly. Notice what's absent from that are any judgments. So instead of being like, well, coach, you should have known better. I always play better. You should have been able to figure out I was sick. I can't believe you didn't. That, again, puts someone on the defensive, and it makes it a lot harder for them to want to work with you versus just going through the facts of, I was sick and I didn't play well and I got cut from varsity. So that's the D for describe. The next letter is E, and it's for express. And this is where you get to come in more with how you're feeling. So the important part of this is that you want to stick to yourself and not put words into someone else's mouth. So it's pretty easy to run into the trap when you're expressing of sort of blaming other people, which you could be totally right, and that's the thing. You could have a total right to, in your mind, to blame the other person could be at fault, but the point here is you really want to get what you want at the end of this interaction, and you're not going to get there through blaming them. So in the situation with our soccer player, it'd be him stepping back and, again, only focusing on him saying how he feels. So after he described the facts, it would say something like, so coach, with that in mind, I'm feeling pretty upset and disappointed. I actually was sick, and because I was sick, I wasn't feeling up to playing, and I didn't feel that my performance represents me as a player. And I'm feeling pretty hurt because I've been a core member of the team and I really was hoping to play this year, and I'm just bummed out that I was cut. So again, what's absent from that is, I'm really upset because you were a jerk and you cut me from the team and I can't believe you could do that to me and I feel so betrayed. So all of those feelings are valid and the thoughts behind them might be valid too. But again, it's probably not going to get you where you want to go. So in this step, it's really important to just stick to how you're feeling. And that instead of why the other person is making you feel some way or how the other person should be feeling. And that's hard because you have to be kind of vulnerable and you have to be willing to admit how you're feeling, which isn't exactly easy, I think, today. So, you'd have to be willing to kind of humbly say, I'm sad. I'm sad because I was really hoping to be on the team. I'm sad because I care. So that's a lot harder to do than saying, I'm sad because you were a jerk, but it's, in the long run, I think, a lot more effective. So on to the A, which is a great letter, first of my name. So the A stands for assert. And this is when you sort of start to problem solve the situation. So you've described the facts, you've expressed how you feel about those facts, avoiding blame. Now it's time to assert what you want. Now the important thing here is to not assume the other person knows. So in the case of the soccer player, you might have gotten through the express situation and you're thinking, all right, I told this guy I'm upset. I told him I was really bummed about not being on the team. I told him I was sick and that he knows I play better. So he should just know that he should put me back on the team. People aren't always on the same wavelength as you, and it's just easier to make it clear and to not assume anything. So here's where you also want to be specific. Since this is a goal outcome driven skill, you really want to know what exactly you want to change. So it's a lot harder for people if, the soccer player was like, well, I just want you to respect me. That's a valid goal, but it's difficult to manifest, and it's also difficult to tell what that looks like and what exactly the coach should do in that situation. Instead, I think it would be effective if the soccer player specifically said, Coach, I'd really like to be on varsity, and I'd like to find a way for us to come up with something where I have a fair chance at trying out for the team because of all the effort I've put into it. And that way you're asserting what you want, which is to be back on the team, and you're showing some flexibility in how you're willing to approach that, which is just a show of good faith so that, again, the coach or the other person isn't feeling like they're being attacked and is feeling like you're taking some responsibility and you're willing to work with them. So the last letter is for the DEAR is R for reinforce. So here's where sort of like the negotiation comes into play. So sometimes a helpful trick, if you're having trouble coming up with a solution, is to just ask the other person what they want. So say you go to your coach and you're like, okay, coach, I really would like to be back on varsity. I think you should there you go. You should statements. So again, these skills are difficult. It's always practicing them, but saying something, like, Coach, I really want to be back on varsity. I would appreciate if you would just reinstate me in the position I was at last season, and we can sort of call this a wash. So the coach might not be willing to do that, right? And you might kind of get stuck in a negotiation thing. The important thing, again, is to avoid should statements, like I almost caught myself doing, and to keep it about yourself, and also to show willingness and validation to the person you're talking to. So if they give you kind of a pushback on that, maybe there's another way you can kind of negotiate things. So one of the ways to do that is to say, okay, coach, I understand why you feel the way you do. So, I understand why you think it's inappropriate to just restart me, even if I don't disagree. What would you be willing to do to help this situation so that I can get back on varsity? And that shows validating their ideas and also willingness to be flexible around it. So, the other trick is sort of like offering a reward for the person, in the sense of like, if you put me back on varsity, I know I will be effective, I know I will help the team, I know I will work well with other kids, and it would really mean a lot to me. So it's not like I feel like reward sometimes sounds dangerous. It's not a threat. It's not like, if you don't let me on the team, I will, burn down the field. Like, that's not effective. But if it's a positive self-action, if you let me on the team, I will make sure to be a responsible player. That's very different, but it's a similar idea, and it gets a more effective outcome. And so the last part of the skill is the man part. More of a how you come off, I think. So the M is for being mindful, and that really, I think, how this manifests the most is staying away from getting involved inside arguments or conversations. So if you are asking the coach and you're at the phase of, I really would like you to put me back on the team, and the coach is less mature than you are or isn't using his skills properly and is like, you should have just come to practice and told me before we tried out, and how could you do that? You're so irresponsible. You're just not ready to be on a team. You're not being mature about this. Any sort of attack, you're going to want to just avoid that. Just let it go. Don't even respond, because again, this is about getting what you want, and getting involved in that argument isn't going to get you anywhere. So an easy way to kind of avoid this is, it's called broken record in DBT, but essentially it's just repetition. So it's something like, okay, coach, I understand you're frustrated. However, is there something we can do so that I can get back on varsity? And I mean, there are some conversations where the person will pick up really quickly that you're not engaging in that, and it'll be a quick turnaround. And there are some where you're going to have to use broken record for a while and just keep kind of ignoring the insults and the attacks, and keep reinforcing what's important to you with this interaction. So the A is for appear confident, which is just, making eye contact, strong body language, also making sure you're coming off not too strongly, maybe like a small half smile or some sort of body language that's signaling to the person you're talking to that they're safe talking to you. You don't want to be too threatening, because again, the person's on defense, and you also don't want to come off as too weak into it, because then they might not take you seriously. And then finally, the N is for negotiate. So again, this is where there's more room to sort of collaborate on a solution, and this is again similar to the R, where you should definitely stick to your own feelings and thoughts and ideas, and make sure to validate the other person's, which doesn't mean you think they're right or agree with them. So if the coach is calling you irresponsible and immature and you don't think that's true, the goal isn't to just, nod your head and, yeah, no, that's true, I'm the worst. What you're doing instead is you're just accepting that's what the coach thinks, and he has reasons for thinking that are his own, and I might not agree with them. And you're not accepting his thoughts as fact, you're just letting him know, like, I hear that you have those feelings, I can see how there would be reasons for those feelings, these are my feelings, what can we do to get a solution met? So hopefully you'd go to your coach and talk it through, and it'd look something like this in real life, kind of time sped up. So it'd be like, hey coach, so I was really sick last night. I thought I could power through, so I came to tryouts anyway. Clearly I didn't perform very well, and I got cut from the team that I've been on for the last 3 years, though I really think my skills when I'm feeling well merit being on the team, and I think my attitude and hard work have helped the team in the past. I'm really sad not to be on the team. It's very important to me. I feel really bummed out. I was really looking forward to the season, to helping the other players, and I'm a little embarrassed, to be honest, of my performance, and hope you can understand some of that has gone into how I played and, where we are right now. with that in mind, I would really appreciate another chance to be on the team. I'm open to what you have in mind in terms of how we can do that, whether that's through another tryout or just based on my skills last season. I'm happy to work with you and would just really appreciate being back on the team. And I can certainly assure you that if on the team, I will do my best as a player and as a teammate to really make a difference and to make sure you won't regret giving me this opportunity. So that's DEARMAN, and it can be applied to any situation. That was just one example. And you can see the comment section for the write-out of the acronym, and it's definitely something worth trying. And even if you don't feel comfortable trying it in person or that's too hard, sometimes what I'll do is use them in emails, especially if I'm emailing teachers about something that might be a little contentious. Like if I think I need an extension or I think I should have gotten a better grade, I'll definitely write out the DEARMAN first so that it comes off as effective as it can be. So that's the end of skills for today, and I hope you check in next time, and we'll be doing our next interpersonal effective skill, which is about how to make and keep your friends. So always a good one. Thanks for listening. Bye.